What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman. Now that the Wandavision finale has finally gone live and the series has been completed, the directors, as normally the case over at Marvel Studios, can open up a lot more in their post interviews and talk about what they wanted to do, things they achieved, what they're happy with, etc. And we got a huge reveal today of a deleted scene in the finale that would have recharacterized Senior Scratchy in a horrifying way. We're going to break down the exact quote from the director as he shared it on a podcast just a couple of days ago, and what he talked about would happen in a final scene that involved Evan Peters, Ralph, the kids, Darcy, Monica, and the Darkhold. Again, this is coming directly from the director himself. We're going to give you his exact quote and scene description for this horrifying transformation and new scene that was deleted from the WandaVision finale. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're still giving away a PlayStation 5 at 800,000 subscribers, as well as Disney Plus subscriptions weekly while the shows are live. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit that subscribe button, then leave a comment down below. And if you want, stick around at the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, again, this was just days ago on the Fat Man Beyond podcast with Kevin Smith in a clip where they were talking specifically about Senior Scratchy, and the director, Max Shakeman, butted in and said, "We did have a longer sequence," and began to explain it in full. Quote, "Let me just say something about Senior Scratchy. We did have something more planned for Senior Scratchy, which we ultimately couldn't do just because the finale, and as I mentioned, so many chess pieces on the table. We did have a whole sequence where Darcy, Monica, the kids, Ralph all meet up, and they're in Agatha's house, and they think that maybe they should steal the Darkhold because the kids had seen it down in the basement when they were being held hostage there by Agatha. And they go down there to get the book, and they're reaching for the book, and the rabbit hops up, and they're like, oh, it's Senior Scratchy, he's the best. And they like reach over to pet him, and he like hisses, and then you get this whole American Werewolf in London transformation, and the rabbit turns into like this big demon, right? It's like her familiar. And then Goonies set piece ensues, as they try to escape from the rabbit and the basement. We actually shot the scene. It was a lot of fun, everyone was great in it, but we ended up moving it aside because it was this sort of huge detour from everything else we had going on. But yes, Senior Scratchy had a little bit left on the cutting room floor. Now, I think there's multiple layers to this answer here that he gave because there's several things going on. We also found out today in a couple of other reveals that there were originally some production cameos and other things that were cut, a lot because what happened with the COVID restrictions. We also know that they were trying to finish the VFX right up until the last moment. They might have even had to delay the finale had the first 3 episodes aired simultaneously the way that they originally intended. That's how down to the wire they were. And when you think about that, adding the VFX for Senior Scratchy to turn into a demon, again, it didn't play into the narrative, but this is quite common for not only Marvel movies, but movies in general. There are always rewrites on set, lines that don't hit right, scenes that may be awesome but don't work in context of the story. We found out a lot about the ones from Avengers Endgame as they had originally planned all this extra content, things like the Living Tribunal, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't work in context of the story they're trying to tell. I think it's interesting as well, and I said this a couple of times when we were talking about Mephisto mostly at the beginning of the series, that whether or not it couldn't sell in China was a totally different conversation. Mostly that Disney, being such a family-oriented company, would run out their first Marvel series, bringing new viewers to the brand of Marvel who had never seen any of the Infinity Saga. Would they really be willing to let the first villain be Mephisto the Devil? On that same note, would they really be willing to have a demon in one of their first series they've ever put out on Disney Plus? Now, trust me, it would be totally different had they already released other shows, maybe like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or some kid-friendly stuff like Miss Marvel, or if they had started putting some of the movies out first. But much in the way that Deadpool, a rated R franchise, is going to be sort of the outlier on Disney Plus, I feel like having a demon show up in their first series, again, by capturing all these new viewers, might have been a misplay in and of itself. And you have to imagine a couple of people on the sidelines who oversee these things, mostly Kevin Feige, might have had something to say. Even though the sequence was awesome, if it didn't fit in context of the story, it's scratched anyway, pun totally intended. However, do you think that maybe a demon yourself would have been a little awkward in the first Disney Plus Marvel series, considering we really not seen a lot like that on screen, if ever, from Marvel Studios before? But not so fast. Just because we didn't see Mephisto during this Disney Plus series doesn't mean we won't see him at all in the MCU, and as fans of Doctor Strange from the comics will tell you, one of the only things missing from that first installment, that first Doctor Strange film, were signs and signals of the occult. That has always been a part of Doctor Strange's story. It would be very surprising to me, with all the setup that they did in the post-credit scene and what could be coming in the multiverse of madness, that they wouldn't at least venture a little into this. And I'm not saying they didn't hint at it at least a little bit. They showed those resurrected witches recognizing the Scarlet Witch. They also referred to the Darkhold as the Book of the Damned. They were hinting at it the entire time, but there is an enormous chasm between innuendo of that kind and presenting a full-on devil figure like Mephisto, or even a fleshed out demon, again in your very first Marvel series going live on Disney Plus, which I can confirm from the YouTube channel analytics alone are reaching, and as Disney intended, a much wider audience, a much wider demographic, both in age and world region. That sort of thing is the sort of stuff that they wanted to achieve with Disney Plus, and I think maybe it would have been a little bit of a misstep to put a demon or any sort of real devil sort of symbols or any sort of inclination of that in their series, when really the story wasn't about that in the first place. And although that's where the story may end up going, it wasn't needed during this series. There were too many plot holes for me in the first place, too many storylines that seemed like they didn't go anywhere, and maybe now we find out that it is because of the COVID restrictions, rewrites, and things they had to change, but they barely showed us any of Monica's powers or explained that at all. They barely let us know who that engineer was, even though she calls him a him. He never showed up. There's a lot of other setup they did that I feel like, Darcy's story didn't really wind up in the finale at all. There's a lot more that could have gone on here. Either way, we did get a complete story. It's an MO that they have now spoken loudly about, wrapping up their shows sort of with a bow. I'm going to suspect the same thing from Falcon and the Winter Soldier now. No huge cameos, but they don't need them as long as they keep true to the storytelling. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below, specifically your feelings about how you would have felt if they showed a demon, and do you think there's still a chance that that sort of stuff is on the table, and or we will eventually see Mephisto in the MCU? I am all ears, and quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away a PlayStation 5 at 800,000 subscribers, which we are headlong into and could easily hit by this week or next week's end. We're also giving away Disney Plus subscriptions every Friday while the shows are live. If you want to be entered to win, it's all the same rules for future prizes as well. All you have to do, hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below. Because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content is to hit the notification bell with notifications turned on, and as always, if you enjoyed today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me over on Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. You can find me on Spotify and all other music platforms under the name Allfires. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys, and stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.